And welcome back to the channel where we are building a video game from scratch using Love2d and Lua. So Squinch, the plan for today is going to be we're going to finish the warp zone from the dark forest over to the dungeon, which we got yesterday. So it's like we're just going to do a 2-screen dungeon here, and we're going to have another sort of exit that pops you out in the ice mountain. So just to give us a little excuse to kind of show off that there's another biome over here. So that's what we're going to be working on. So we'll see how far we can get. Oh, Jimmy crawled. Jimmy was in a perfect spot and then already moved. There we go. Okay. All right, so let's build out the rest of this dungeon. So this is the dungeon on the way to the ice mountain. So I'm kind of thinking, you know, maybe we'll have only one bat hole here. And then I'm thinking maybe like one bat hole and then 2 bat holes on the next one. But we need an exit to go from a dungeon to upstairs without it being a doorway. So instead of this doorway, I think I want to dump us in like a little how do we do it? I know like in Pokemon Gold and Silver they have like a little ladder that it looks like to get out, but trying to imagine how it might look like if we don't want the dungeon, because the Dark Temple also, the Dark Temple has a hole in the ground, but then it takes us to a doorway. So I guess we'll just keep that consistency, and then maybe in the full game we'll come up with a thing like that. So yeah, we're basically just going to make a door here. Okay. Okay, for some reason I want to come out this right side. So let's add an exit on the right side here. We'll scoot it down one because of the way the side. Yeah, we'll scoot it down one because it's not. We don't have a top level. Actually, no. Let's do it. how we were planning on doing it. We'll just make sure that we have to add a top level corner piece to the top there. So we'll just make sure to do that. So in the top level tile, we have the corner piece there. Okay, so let's see. Let's see if this works. Now there is no warp zone, so it will still just have us walking around in the other world there. But it shouldn't be too hard to add a warp zone, so... Okay, cool. Sweet. Yeah. Oh. Our side collision is a little jacked up here. How do we add a side collide? What are those called? They're called like side wall pieces or something. Collidable wall objects. Okay, so how do we add this? Oh, it's the special... This one's saying it's a special... Collidable wall objects is only on... very specific... tiles. Does that mean it's screwed up in the dungeon? Let me see if it's screwed up, because I literally copied and pasted it, the tile ID from the other dungeon, so that makes me want to check if we have the proper collidable wall objects here. It would only affect... No, yeah, see, look, there is one. There is one there. Yeah, there is one there. So we do have it fixed here. It's just that... Oh, and you know what? This is only... Oh, man. No. Because I'm thinking this is... Yeah, the map width is actually, yeah, 20 scenes wide. Okay, so all it does is look for the tile ID to be equal to a certain range. So these... Oh, these are the collidable wall objects. So we need a collidable corner is what it is. So what we'll do... Yeah, because the piece above it is what's collidable. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, let's do that. So on our top level, it actually doesn't even have to be top level. I think it can be on, I don't know. Let's try to put it there. No, man, no. That's not it. Yeah, it's literally, yeah, we just get the tile ID. If it's a tile ID, okay, it might have to be maybe in the base layer. Yeah, tile ID is the ground level. So I'm assuming that the ground level has the same corner here. So if we go look at the ground level, yeah, it has the same ID. So the difference is our top corner doesn't have the tile ID of the corner piece that is this collidable wall corner piece. So if we add that, which I just did, then it should work. And then if it doesn't at that point, then I'm really confused, because now I feel like I understand it. Let's see. Nice. So yeah, you can't walk in the hole by going up to the very top. You have to fit inside the doorway. Cool. So we'll just add a warp zone here. And I want to actually shrink the hitbox to teleport us, the warp zone. Okay, so I want to turn this on. I want to see the warp zone, so we're going to take it out. Take out the transparency color. So yes, so we want this to be a little smaller and right in the center there. But we don't have a way. We don't have a way to actually move the X position of the warp zone, at least by modifying the warp zone itself. Unless we do. Let me try to modify the X and see, or the Y. Yeah, because it's like it's at the top left and we want it at the top, or you know, we want it at the center. So let's see if we can adjust the X and Y of the warp zone. And we want to set it. This is a little weird, but we basically want to say just take your current X and add maybe 4 to it. Yo, Salto just went live. Okay. So we're going to add 4. I don't know if this will work. We're looking for the green square to be more in the center of the staircase. Perfect, man. That's exactly what I wanted. Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. I think that's perfect. So I like that. We can go make it transparent again so we don't see it. But at the end of the day, it's still there, right? So now we need a warp zone into the ice mountain. So I want to make like a wall of ice. A wall of ice sprite. I don't know how good that will turn out, but let's try it. Because like I want it to be like you're coming out at like the side of like an ice mountain pit, and it's gonna look like you know, I want it to kind of be like waves of ice. You know, it needs to be darker than this, but something like this. I don't know if it kind of, it doesn't really read to me like a wall of ice. Because ideally, you know, this is like, it's ultimately going to have a doorway, right? So at least one side of it is. So if we just kind of like mock up what that doorway would look like. It would look like that. Let's see what it might look like in a room full of snow, right? Or a whole scene full of snow. Because like if we use the same color palette here, like blue and whatever for ice. It's a little more readable as ice, and we want it to be a collidable wall object, so we'll have to put it in a certain layer here. Let's try this. We need a side door. Yo, Kavictus, what's up, dude? Yo, it's going good. Yeah, it's going good. How's it going with you, dude? How's the road to affiliate going? Oh, heck yeah, dude. Heck yeah. Nice, dude. Yeah, you've got to just like fill out some paperwork or something, and then for me it was pretty easy. You have to give like some tax info and stuff, and then they'll kind of have to approve it or whatever. That's awesome though, dude. Congrats. I don't know if this ice wall's gonna read at all. Let's see though. I can't really tell until I see it with the rest of the stuff. So let's merge these layers. Yes, now let's try, yeah, let's see what a piece would look like. Oh, nice. Nice, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll try to, I mean, I've got your notifications turned on, so I'll, once you go live, I'll, hopefully I'll be able to tune in. You know, there's a decent chance I might be at work, but I'll try to tune in. A lot of the times at work, I'm able to pull open another tab, so. Okay, so the place we're warping to is, oh my god, is over here. Oh, we already kind of built some piece of it out. So yeah, this is the warp zone we want to end up at. But we're going to come out of the side of the wall over here. So we need to reload this. Okay, so here's, I don't know if the ice wall is gonna read at all. Yeah, it doesn't read like an ice wall. Looks like it's got the old color. It doesn't have the right ice color. Yeah, it doesn't read like ice. The ice on the floor does, but the wall doesn't. So we just need to come up with better pixel art for it, you know? So we just have to do better. Ideally, this is like a whole... This is all going to be blocked off. This is going to be the only screen you can explore in the Ice Mountain for the demo. Yeah, it's just not... it's supposed to be... Like, if you think about being in, like, a sunken pit and there's ice walls around every side of it. It's like you're kind of in, like, a sunken pit with tall ice walls around you. So it definitely doesn't read like how I want it to look, because I want it to look like you're coming out of the side of like an ice wall, but it doesn't read like that. Pixel art is not my strong suit. Very tough. Put a snow on the top of the ice wall. That's kind of what I went. That's kind of what I went to without reading that. But yeah, that is more readable. Yeah, that is looking better. Yeah, that I can at least tell what the hell I'm looking at now. So if we add the corners and the sides, I think that will be more readable. Because, yeah, I mean, and in the real game, this won't be like a... You won't be stuck. And maybe instead of doing like a whole wall of it, I mean, I'm kind of thinking maybe we leave it as like only one wall, but we block the other ways in another way. We block it. Because it doesn't make sense that you would be like completely trapped. Exactly, Kivictus. You know it. Anytime I can be lumped in with you, I'm cool with. That looks better. We don't have any specific ice. I would like if you can like slip and slide on the ice, but we don't have the time to do that for the demo. So, and it's not going to be a mechanic in the game. Well, you know what? There is in Pokemon Silver, right? There's a gym where you can kind of slip and slide like that, and it's pretty fun. So maybe there is some room for that. I think I want to make the ice here the same color as the ice wall. I like the ice wall color a little bit better. So we do just need to figure a way to block the player in for this part. For right now, I'm just gonna block in with fence posts just so that we don't have to worry about triggering scene transition to a completely undeveloped part of the map. And you can kind of see, like, here's the entrance to the dungeon, and then there's two screens. There's the screen you enter at, then the above screen, and then you exit to the right, which I guess would pop you out over here. So maybe we should move this all over just one, because it would pop you up a little more to the side. So let's try to do that. Yes, and then we'll need a top level tile layer for the doorway so that the door renders on top of us. Oh, that would be cool. Cracking on the ice, that would be cool. Oh, dude. Kavictus, that might be it, dude. Cause yeah, we could write a if you collide with a ice tile, it cracks, and then if you collide with it again, it breaks into a hole, and then you can fall down into it. And then we can design little puzzles off of walking on the cracks only once and not blocking yourself out by making holes around you. That would be fun, dude. I think I like that. I don't think we'll get to it during the demo, but I think I want to do it. I think I want to do it now, so that's cool. That's a cool little mechanic. So like, I think it's cooler than the slippy and slidey, and it could be, you know, a little more fun. Oh, come on, dude. What did I mess up? Okay. For right now, we'll try this. Okay, that should be it. So if we look at the map, it's there. It's kind of like almost in the very center of the ice mountain, and I kind of want it to work out to be like you have to kind of like work your way up the mountain by going like in a little loop, and then the very peak of the mountain is going to be like right here, right where you start, but on a different level. So something like that. So let's just see if we can get the warp zone. We do need to add the top level tile layer for the ice door. So let's go ahead and do that. So it's gonna need to be like one of these, right? So we can make it just like this. Okay, so there's our top level tile. That's how we get it to look like our player is coming out of the entrance, because that is going to be rendering over our player. But we also need a collidable wall object. Since it's a side entrance, we'll need a collidable wall object of this type in the proper layer for the collidable wall object. So it's a tile ID down here with these. So we'll just add snow one right here. Now that's what we have to draw right above our doorway to make sure that we don't render too far up into it where it would like cut off our heads. Not really, but in the animation sense. So let's see here. Let's see if the warp is working. We don't have a warp. We have a warp 2, and then we have an empty dungeon right now. And then we'll need to put a warp zone right here. So let's get the warp zone added right here, and we'll pull out into the ice mountain. So if this is the dark forest, there's the entrance, there's 1, 2, and then this at 3, 5 is where we're ending up. So the warp zone needs to take us to 3, 5. So let's do a warp zone. And this is dungeon to ice mountain exit. Okay, so this is a warp from a row. Now we always have the warp from a row be the above ground atlas. So that is a warp zone, just like how it's at a 5-4. Our warp 2 zone is a 5-4, but we're trying to go into a 3-5. So we'll do 3-5 here. And then we have a warp 2 row and column. So this is the dungeon. So the dungeon, just like how we're going to a 213 when we warp to the dungeon. 213 is right here. So we need to go from a 113 back. So yeah, we need to go to a 113 back. Okay, then we need to place it, and we have it from a warp from X and Y, and then a warp 2. So the warp from is the top side of the Earth, right? So this is the snow placement. So it's going to be a 1 for the first column and a 3 for the... it's actually a 2. I want to say it's a 2 because it's the second from the top. And then the entrance, the warp 2X, is going to be a 2 as well. No, not... the X would have to be 8 because it's at the last column. And then a 2 on the row for the Y. So let's see if this warp zone gets put in the correct spot. Uh-oh. What did we change, man? When we insert a warp zone, do we have to give it a height? I don't feel like we do. I don't get why we're crashing on that. I think we just accidentally overwrote the old warp zone. No, it's right here. So what are you mad at, dude? It says this dark forest to Ice Mountain entrance. We took out this old line. Yo, see ya, Squinch. Thanks for hanging, homie. Yeah, have a safe trip home. What is it missing here? 3.5? Why did we change? We don't want this to be 3.5. We want the new one. Five, 4, 3, 5. I think this is supposed to be the old 5.4, right? Oh, it thinks. What did we do? 5.4 is supposed to be the entrance, not the exit. So it's wanting. Okay, so that 3.5 is the exit. I don't know how we screwed that up. Okay, so 3.5 is the exit. We don't need this. Okay, so the warp from is a 3.5. That's the above ground. 113 is where we're coming into the dungeon. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so there's the warp zone. It took us to a 3.5, which is correct. We just didn't export our map. So let's do that. We'll take in our tiled. We've got to export this as a global map because we drew this on 3.5. So let's export this as a global map. And we'll try to. We have to lower our Y position by 1. So instead of the exit being on 1, 2, it needs to be 2, 1 or 2. Let's leave it at that. Let's try this. So now we should be teleported to the ice mountain through the warp zone. We need to fix the warp zone location. That's very close. And you know what? we designed warp zones to only work on vertical entrances and exits. So even though... Oh, shit. I'm not even able to walk in the hole there. Yeah, the doorway needs to not be a collidable wall here, so we'll just put... Oh god. We didn't even make a... We've got to make an above ground wall. I thought we did this. Where's our top level ice wall? I thought it was right here. Yeah, it's right here. It is there. Okay, just reload tiled and try it again. There we go. Okay, so in the top level, we put this. And then in the... Yeah, we need a black above ground. I don't like that. I think it needs to be off the ground. So because the fact that this is in this shouldn't be in the collidable wall object layer. It should be right here. The heck? Yep, it should be here. Except I want this to be kind of speckled. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, so now there's a top level tile that should render over us, and we need to put the collidable wall tile in the place above us, so we can't walk too far up into it. Now it should be the same as, you know, the fence post will stop us from walking up, but we should still bump into a wall there because we're too high to fit in the doorway. So if that works, then we're doing good. What the fuck, dude? What? What? We must have moved these around? Why did it look so wrong? Ground level layer, this doorway. Ground level layer, this above ground. Then, top level layer, we've got that. We also need this in a top level layer. Okay, so now we'll turn it back on. We'll save. We'll export as a global map, and then it should be in the game. Okay. Oh, the collidable map tile still isn't working. But also the warp zone's wrong, so we need to fix that. Okay, so in the warp zone, when we go to a warp 2x, yeah, instead of 9.8, it needs to be wait. 9.8. This is the placement of the warp zone for the dungeon warp zone. So this would be 9 would be almost the end. 10 would be the rightmost side. And 8, dude, that's not right. We're on the wrong one. It's right here. 8.2. Yeah, we were on the wrong one. Okay. So 1.2 is incorrect. It needs to be more like 2.1. And then 8.2 isn't right either. It needs to be 10.2. 10.2. So we should have a warp zone at the top right corner here. On this screen. Okay. What the heck? We have 2. Ugh. Fuck. Why did we have 2? Okay, that's close. Needs to be further in. Oh, and then we're getting stuck. See, because that shouldn't be possible. This should be the collidable wall object. So I think collidable wall objects have to go in the ground level layer. So we have to remember to do that. So in the ground level layer, we will put the collidable wall object export right there. That should fix that. But we need the warp 2 to be maybe 11. Because we programmed these, we hard-coded the positioning based on a vertical placement for a warp zone, not a side wall warp zone. So the warp zone should be in there. We just can't really see it. If we go deep enough inside, I don't see it. Oh, there it was. Okay, so let's scoot it to the left a bit. I don't like having to do this, but they're kind of hard coded for vertical entrances. So we basically want to say that we want to take the X position and set it equal to We just want to scoot it to the left a bit. So let's say we scoot it by 4 pixels or 8 pixels. And let's warp us to 3.5 so we don't have to keep walking over there. Okay, 3.5 is incorrect. Fuck. Yeah, it's more like the warp one, which is 1.13. Okay. Where is that warp zone? It's right there. It's chilling on the wrong screen, or it's part of... Yeah, let's just scoot it more. That's not moving it. That's because we're moving it from 3.5, not 1.13. There it is. Okay, it's right there. Perfect. Now we get spawned wrong. Gosh, we still have the collision wrong. Okay. Fuck. There's the warp zone for there. Okay, so yeah, it's way too high. We needs to be one whole one lower. So instead of 1.1, it should be 1.2. And then we need to manually kind of scoot it down a bit, I think. I don't get why the collidable wall object is still not working. It might be only on this one layer. So let's try to move. I assumed it was 2 layers, but it might just be the 1 layer. So it might be every sprite that's on this layer of the atlas is treated as a collidable map wall object. So let's try that. So yeah, we need to scoot it right about 4 pixels. Okay. Now we're not adding... What the heck? Okay, okay. Oh my... What the... Okay, so we need to redraw it in tiled. Because now it is not this one, but this one in the ground level tile. So we'll do it in the ground level as well as the top level. And it'll say it's not there because we didn't redo it, but if we export this as a global map, it should have the right collision at least. Okay. Nice. Yes, that's it. Yes. Okay. So yeah, we come out of the ice cave, and then yeah, we need to move the warp zone so that it is not above us, but down and to the left. So this, you know, we should probably have like a insert vertical warp zone or horizontal warp zone so that we wouldn't have to reposition this stuff. But this one needs to be like 4 pixels over, so we'll minus it by 8 or 6 instead of 12. And then the warp zone on 3.5 needs to be scooted both. And we can think about this like it took us... This one might be tough because basically what happens is an insert warp zone function like this inserts two warp zones, one to warp you somewhere and one to warp you back. So how we have it is the warp zone itself is placed like just outside of what triggers it. So we built it for a vertical entrance. So if it is an entrance below our player, it's yeah, because like I'm trying to think of like how we can, because warp moves our player, but it's also we might have to redo this function for side. Let's look at this insert warp zone, because I think we have to kind of do one for side collisions. Because basically when we use a warp zone, we're kind of warp player from X. What do we even do, man? Warp player to Y. Oh my god, dude. It has to do with the warp zone itself. Man, this was a real lack of planning on our part, because a warp zone. Oh my gosh, dude. I don't even see where it's setting our player. You know, we have the collision for it, but I don't see where it sets our player to spawn where the warp zone parameter is given. Because we have the parameter here, so it says like, hey, warp player to X, but that's not actually warping the player to X. That is just the value shifted. So like, if our third and fourth parameter of our warp zone object is a player X, player Y, then we save it as a player X, player Y. Okay, so somewhere in the warp zone, we're going to be touching this player X and player Y. Yeah, so let's see, actually, yeah, let's see when we do this. If we collide with a warp zone, then where do we even do it? We just become warping. Warping gets true. Okay. So this isn't it either. If we're warping, then we're going to initialize a scene with our player. I don't see where that sets our location, though. You know what? I think our location might actually be set by the tweening. So the warp zone has nothing to do with modifying our player location. It's just set by the tweening based on a scene transition, which makes sense. But then we still have to make like a custom warp zone hitbox adjustment for a side entrance. So let's try to do that. In our map declarations, we have this ice mountain. Okay, so for the exit, we are shifting the warp to the ice mountain so that it is registerable walking out of the dungeon, but then we need to move the Y of this one down by at least 16. So we'll say the Y plus 16, but we also need to shift its X to be left maybe like 10. So let's subtract maybe 6 and see where that gets us. So we're looking for shifting the warp zone hitbox from the ice mountain back to the dungeon. So let's see. Okay, so we triggered it. We triggered it twice, so that tells me that we didn't spawn our player far enough outside, so we need to scoot the X position back. The good news is that warp worked, but it's triggering the instant we're done transitioning. Okay, so that looks good. And then if you walk deep into it, see that's a little too far back. So let's maybe not 18, but maybe minus 14. We want to spawn just behind our player so that we don't actually collide with the warp zone, but that we can... Oh my god, that's... Oh! That's almost it. Oh, shoot, man. It's tough because... Dude, we might have to... I think we have to add a different function for vertical collisions, because when we're warping, we shifted... Yeah, because what's happening is like we shifted the warp zone down so that we can collide with it here when we walk in. But what happens when you warp back to a warp zone is it'll place your player... Yeah, actually, yeah. There's got to be a line of code somewhere dictating our player goes below our warp zone, because we're getting stuck warping back because the warp zone's like right here and we're spawning like right below, but then we're detecting a collision here, so we get moved over here. So maybe we move our warp zone down a bit. I don't know if that'll help. This one, we move our Y down a bit. I don't know. Let's try moving it down. It's still... Yeah. It still pops us up. Shoot. Oh no, man. Look at that Jimmy. I don't see where the player's position is getting set in relation to the warp zone. If I could find that, it would help me. Right here. this is it. We update our players X and Y to be the dot player X and dot player Y field of the warp zone, because that's what the V is right here. So this is like, okay, so that's what's happening right here. If we're warping, you know, we cycle through our warp zones. If the player's warping, then we initialize the scene to be the new warp row, and then we need to do we become warping false at this point? I feel like we should. But we set our player X here. So what we can do in our insert warp zone, we can also take in an option of either vertical or horizontal. And then we just modify the player X of our actual warp zone object. So if we go into if we go into a warp zone object, we can say that this takes in, oh my god, it does already take in a disjoint and a state change. What the fuck, dude? Okay, well, so if it also takes in an option, okay, and then we basically need to set the player X. You know, we can say if self.option is vertical, see, and it's hard because the player X is getting assigned from the third and fourth params here, which I think is weird. Because the third and fourth params here are what we're calling warp 2 row and warp 2 column. That should be the map that we're warping to, not the player X and Y. We could really fix this just by only having warp zones vertically, but I wanted to do, I don't know why, I just thought it would be cool to come out the side of an ice wall. I don't want to give up on this just yet, like, why would, oh, because that's an insert warp zone, not a warp zone. Oh my god, okay. This is bad. This is bad because our insert warp zone is the function that we're doing all this stuff with. So if we were to have an option for an insert warp zone, that's what we need to change this warp player to X and Y here based on the option. You know, so we can say if insert warp zone has an option, and if option is nil, then go ahead and set our player values to warp 2 like normal. But if our option is horizontal, well, let's just do side. If it's side, and a side will be a string. If it's side, then we need to change these values to be different. And the values we would need to change is, say, we're not warping our player to our warp 2x position -3. Why? Why is the X 3 shifted from our X? That's not right. But basically, Oh my god, dude. Yeah, fuck. Okay. So if it's a side option, our warp 2x is the x position of the overworld going into the dungeon. So the overworld going into the dungeon. So when we warp 2x... Oh my god, dude. I cannot figure this out. We can just mess around with it. Like, I feel like the warp 2x... See, but then... Fuck, dude. I don't know. Let's just try. Let me think about it. Because, yeah, when we're trying to... Basically, what's wrong now is when we warp to the position, our X is getting set to be... Or our Y is getting set to be beneath our player. So that's this from Y. Because no, it's actually above. So it is this one. So if it's option side, let's just not modify our Y, okay? On the warp 2. So let's try that and just see if that helps the warping back to the dungeon from the ice mountain. And we'll have to remember to give the option of side to this dungeon, to this ice mountain dungeon. So for the ice mountain exit, we're going to give the option of side. And hopefully side is an optional parameter to that insert warp zone function, and warp zone 8 is mad. Let's just do this. Let's do... If option is side, we'll do this. Otherwise, we'll do this. Most of the time, we're going to do the normal option. But if options equal to side, we can just say does not equal nil. Actually, let's do equal to side. Okay. Okay, so we warp. Fucking shit, dude. I couldn't tell you what happened, man. Only thing I could think of is if we take out this side and then it works. No. So we broke something somewhere else. Okay, we have an option. And does it need an option? It said try to perform arithmetic on X, which didn't exist. So the option is optional, I'm pretty sure. It didn't like this in the entity state for some reason. Okay, I don't know what's going on. Because at this point, that should be the old way we had it. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do, we're going to give us these values right off the bat. But if our options side, we're going to overwrite them to be better for a side collision or a side warp zone. So we'll go back to trying to do this. And before I do that, it should work as normal. Okay, cool. And then now we can add the option. Okay. Okay. It did move us. It did move us, but we need to move us more to the left. So let's do this. We need to move our X more to the left. So instead of doing this, let's just say move us by another tile size to the left on the X. So when we warp here, that's fine, but we need to move our X to be like, yeah, I want to say like a whole nother tile size. Then if we can see ourselves peeking in, then that might be the right parameter tweak. Oh, that's it. That's it. Yeah, we just need to move a little bit more inwards so that we're not colliding and getting that feedback loop. It's so close, man. Nice. Yo, so the idea is the different orbs are just the different colors, right? So the very first one you put, the purple one, that's the corruption. It's not. It's actually like more like a power orb. It does. I don't have like an ancient name for it. I've got an ancient name for all the other ones. Actually, no, I do. It's called Korvox. It's on the. Okay, so I do got a name for it. That's what caused the corruption in the beginning of the game. So all the purple water at the beginning of the game is because of the misuse of that power orb. So that's why the entities, the NPCs at the beginning of the game don't like mages, is because we corrupted the waters by using this power orb to try to change the environment. And then your question is like, we have the different colors so that they're distinguishable, and those are just like some primary colors to be distinguishable, but they kind of relate to what they do. So like Flama is the red one. Red is fire, but our fire spell is blue. So like even though the element is red, the blue fire comes out. So it's red just because red is like fire. And I didn't want too many blue colored orbs because we needed water. The blue one is the water spell. The green one is the reflective spell. Yellow is light. So I was toying around with also doing like an ice spell since we have the biome for it. But like we had blue for the fire, blue for water, and then blue for ice. I was like, that's just too much blue. So we had to switch it up. So I made red for the blue fire, blue for the water spell, and then green for the reflective, and then yellow for the light spell. So far, the only element in the game is Flamma, which is the red one. But you know, we're working on building the other spells here after the demo's done. So I do think I want to get rid of some of the layering on here, on the collidable, or no, on this one. I want to delete some of these pixels. Yeah, I think if we do that, it'll look a lot smoother. Let's see if that warp 2x adjustment is good enough. We warp out, we come out the side of the mountain, we can walk back in. That does look a lot better. I still want... Wow, okay, yeah, that's the tile above it. That's okay, I'm not too worried about that. Okay, I do think our warp 2x could be a little bit more to the right. So instead of minusing 3 here, let's just not minus 3. I want it to be a little deeper inside, so you don't trigger it till you walk a little deeper inside here. So that still seemed too close. Okay, this isn't the right one to touch. This warp from X is... No, this isn't it either. We want to do it... We kind of like overwrite the positioning. Yeah, right here. So in the dungeon, we want to, yeah, not subtract by 6, but maybe just 2. Want to walk a little deeper before triggering it. Cool. That looks good. That looks good for both the exit. Okay. Yeah, so right here, we want to trigger this to be a little more to the right. So this would be... In the side option, we change our warp player 2x to be not so far, so maybe like 18, a little further inside. Yes, good. Good, yes. And you know what? Yeah, I feel like I can probably get away with deleting a pixel on this top level tile layer. I don't know. It's okay though. It's okay. Yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it. Because just like that, like, you know, you could see piece of the dirt over his head, which doesn't make any sense. So, actually, which one is that? Yeah, I think it's just these corner pieces we'd want to get out of. Okay, let's see if that worked. Fuck. It did. It looks better. It looks better. I think we'll leave it at that. It's just that, like, the more I take off, the more we'll be able to see, Like, we're just scooting down the line to where it'll go over him, so this is fine. It does look a little better that way. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Let's make sure our warp zones aren't broken. Because we added that option, so that looks right. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure we didn't break any of those warp zones. It looks right. Okay. Oh my, jeez, that freaked me out, man. We're still stuck. We have to fix the continue game because we took off. Like, continue game normally loads your last file save, but since we deployed to the web, we took that bitzer off, so we'll have to turn it back on to get that back. Wow. Okay. What else do we need to do? We need the snow biome to appear in the place we warp to. So right now our snow is like very light. It's like pretty little snow, but I want it to be more blizzardy. Yeah, I want it to be more blizzardy. So let's find our snow system and just try to get it working to looking very snowy, like a blizzard. And let's see. Our playstate is given a snow system. Then in our map, it's not in our map. It's in our scene. We'd want to update this snow system. So in our scene, let's say we're going to update our snow system just to test it out. And then we need to render our snow system in our scene right here. So let's see if we can see our snow system now. Dude, I always thought pixel art was going to be the easy part of this game. Like, this is part of the reason I wanted to do a Game Boy game, is because I didn't want to focus on the art too much. I wanted to figure more about the programming, because I figure if I make anything bigger than a Game Boy game, I'm going to spend way too much time on just the art. But then it turned out that pixel art is like just as hard as any other art, so I spend quite a bit of time doing pixel art. It is very tough, dude. It is very tough. I don't really have much tips other than trial and error with just like everything, you know. This is really cute. It's just that the snow on top of white snow isn't very readable, because where we're going to be warping to has white background, and then you can't really see it all that much. I like the ice wall. I think the ice wall is pretty sweet now. Yeah, I don't want it to look like Christmas. I want it to look like a nightmare. Like, it's supposed to be like so gusty that you can't even explore. It's just, yeah, so much of it is over. Yeah, maybe we'll make... Yeah, I think we need to make the ground mostly ice. Like, mostly ice so that you can see the snow. Dude, that would be cool if the ice mountain has like permanently breakable. Like I like the fact that you won't have to rush, because it's like if you're colliding with a tile that is ice and it hasn't been cracked, then let's crack it. Then, you know, it waits till you leave collision with it, and then the next time you collide with it, it'll shatter into a hole. Dirt patches, ice patches. We can do little pits. We can add little pits for sure. I think I want to figure out something to do. Because I don't, you know, obviously I don't like the fence posts just like blocking the player in here. It just feel like it just can't be in the demo, you know. It has to look more natural. So I'm kind of thinking maybe we do 3 walls of ice, like we're in that sunken ice pit, and then there is maybe there's just 2 layers of boulders blocking the entrance, the exit, and we put a little signpost that says like, due to dangerous winds in the area, the mountain is closed. And we could put a little signpost there. So let's do a top and bottom ice wall with the corners, and then we will. Dude, Kavictus, that is one thing I do want to do, because I love that when that's in games. I love that. So that is on the list to do. It's just one of those things that it's probably going to take so long for me to figure out, and it's not important to the game mechanics, but it makes playing the game funner. So like I do want to do the footsteps. That would be really cool. I feel like it's just going to take me forever to do that though. You know, like I kind of have an idea, right? Like it's basically like as you walk. Yeah, I feel like I can probably figure it out, but the change in footprints based on which direction you're walking is like another hard part of that aspect. But then, yeah, we'd have to not leave footprints on something like ice, but leave it on something like snow, and then it becomes hard. Right? But yeah, let's do an ice wall for the other sides. So we'll just do, it'll be the same one, just rotated. Okay, then we need the corners, which that dude, that's a whole nother can of worms, Kavictus, because of the way my game is. It you know, it depends on, because we don't know what direction they're going to be walking on. So if the footprints are facing the wrong direction you walked, it'll look so jacked up. And if it's just a square footprint, it doesn't look, you know, like the offset of the steps need to be in orientation of the direction of the feet. So it's not, I don't think it's, I think that would be even harder than kind of what I was thinking. Okay, so we need a corner piece here. Sweet. There's so many little things. Yo, thanks for hanging, Convictus. Have a good night, dude. I'll catch you later. Yeah, I'll catch you when you're back on for your affiliate stream, hopefully. So I'll try to catch you then. Okay, let's try to build out our ice bottom bit here. We need the other corners too, now that I think about it. Okay, yeah, dude. Well, try to get it done. I feel like it takes a couple days for them to approve it, so maybe try to get it done before you leave, so that it's approved by the time you come back. Okay. Well, hey, good luck with it, dude. Oh, what do we do here? Shoot, we need a top left corner to be a collidable wall object. So we'll have to draw that one specifically from a very particular aisle here, right here. Yo, see you, Cavictus. Okay. Okay, that's right. It looks wrong, but it'll be right once we reload tiled. Okay, there we go. yeah, we'll put like, we can just put like 2 boulders here and a sign that says like, hey, that due to dangerous conditions, the mountain is shut down, or something like that. That the trailways are shut down. Okay. I feel like I want like a stone path up here, but we don't really have. Okay. We can do that. Okay. Looks like our corners are in place. Our stone path's in place. We'll need to manually insert a boulder and a signpost. 2 boulders and a signpost. Yeah. So okay, so yeah, we need to block this part off. We'll do that by putting 2 boulders here. Now, a boulder against the wall like this cannot be pushed in, so it effectively just locks the player in. And then we can put a signpost here that says like, hey, it's too dangerous to be over here, sort of deal. Okay, and then we have to get the snowSystem to be more blizzardy and only working on the particular scene we want it to. So let's get the boulders placed first. We're trying to place a boulder on 3-5. So in our map declarations, we'll go find a boulder insertion and we'll put it on 3-5. So right here we'll say map 3-5. We want a boulder as a collidable map object, and it's a type of pushable, and it's at a yeah, I guess it would be 9, maybe 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 4. That'd be 10, 4. 10, 4, and then a 9, 4 as well. Okay, so let's see. We should have the boulders in there. Cool. Yeah. We do have like a stone path underneath it, which kind of makes the boulder look weird. Maybe we'll put this one here. I just don't like how that looks, but there's nothing they can do about it here. So maybe now we can put the signpost right above. We can place it right here, and you can't push this, and you can push this one, but it doesn't get you anything. So let's put a signpost right here that says, you know, due to blizzards, Ice Mountain is unavailable for visitors or something like that. So we'll put in our above ground, we want to put a signpost, and then we have to insert an actual signpost object, a dialog box object. It'll be at 9.3. So whenever we do a signpost, we want to do up here at our ice mountain, we're going to give our boulder right here. Then we're also going to go into 3.5 and give us a signpost dialog box object. And it's at 9.3, so that should be 9 on the X, 3 on the Y, and we'll say that this is hello. To test it, it'll be non-NPC dialog box, and 1 is the first dialog box in the scene. So there's our little signpost. It looks like we screwed up the insertion of it. I'm trying to interact with it and I don't see it. So our dialog box object is wrong. It's not a 3.5. Maybe we screwed this up. Let's try to put 2.2. Oh, there it is. Okay, so 2.2. Why was it down here? Okay, so 2. 2.2. Why is that so off? Because it's not accounting for 1 tile size. Okay, so 2. Okay, god dang it. Okay, so what we can do is we could subtract a tile size just so we get the actual 9.3, right? So we want 9.3. If we don't subtract by the tile size, it puts it off by 1 on both axes. So now it should be where the signpost is. And we need our collidable, our corner ground level. There we go. We got the signpost. So let's put our collidable corner right here. We need to say that this piece on our ground level tile is actually the piece right there, so that we have collision with it, proper collision with it. Okay, let's check for collision up here. Cool. Okay, sweet. Now we just need the proper, dialogue for the signpost. We'll just say, do I have a name for the ice mountain? I don't think I do. Okay, Monas Mountains. Monas Mountain is off limits during blizzards. Now, Monas is the name of the term we gave for our focus. So the red bar in our spellcast system is Monas. But I think it's cool to have the mountain named after some magic in some kind of way. We have the volcano is named after a volcano in Japanese, Kazan. So we have our own Manus Mountain and Kazan. So Manus and Kazan are the two peaks here. And if we look at our mini map, yeah, we'll see we're right there at 3.5. So it's kind of like a sneak peek for the player who play in the demo. This is as far into the game they can get, because there's no way to get to the volcano. That's the end game area. So that's as far away as they can get in the game, because the furthest right they can go is here, these two screens, and then they can also go this far. So they can go a decent part of the map during the demo, which is nice. Okay, so we need a more blizzardy snow system, and we also need the snow system to only exist in the scene. So part of the weather system needs to incorporate snow with an emission rate set to a custom emission rate. So I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back, and we'll try to knock that out in the next 30 minutes. Okay, so we're working on... Oh, did I take a break right during ads? That was convenient. Okay. So yeah, let's just take a look at our snow system. Okay, we have a wind angle, a max angle, a lifespan. Okay, so what's the emission rate? Emission rate's 500. We have a particle system of 800 particles. We set the emission rate, we set a linear acceleration, and a lifespan of 20. Lifespan is 20 seconds. Let's take that down and see what happens. So, lifespan of only 2. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. So yeah, it is looking more blizzardy. I mean, we need bigger wind angles, yeah. But shortening the lifespan like that helps more particles be on the screen at one time. So let's just try to really jack up this minimum and maximum angle for the wind. Okay, dude. Oh, already looking awesome. Yeah, I want it to be a little slower of a change, so the wind angle, it just does this increase thing where we're increasing it by 1. So if we want it slower, we'd have to give this rate different. So let's just say we're going to do a 0.5. So it takes twice as long to change angles like that. And then it should... That's looking much better. It looks unnatural how much it changes angle. So maybe we have like a very low minimum angle and then a big maximum angle. And when we're increasing, let's increase faster than we decrease and see how that looks. We're looking for it to like look like a little blizzard. Yeah, you know what? I don't like the... Let's give a minimum angle to be a positive number so that it always looks like it's flowing to the right. Yeah, I just want stronger. You know? What is this min y max y? We don't use that. Oh yeah, we do. For the linear acceleration. Linear acceleration. I forget what that does, but let's see. Ooh. Honestly, this is looking pretty cool. Now see how like they're spawning at the top of the screen? I don't really like that. Let's see how it looks over here though. It doesn't really bug me on this screen though. I do want it more blizzardy though, because it's supposed to be like, say it's off limits during blizzards, so yeah. Min y max y. Yeah, I think we just boost the emission rate. Oh, that looks cool. Yeah, let's just boost the emission rate maybe to 800. Cool, man. I like it. I think I want to change the pause. Yeah, because like things like our animated tiles don't get paused during a cinematic or during a dialogue box like this. And I feel like I want our weather to be the same way. I think I want our weather to continue in the background. I don't know if we'll do that for demo though. I don't know. This is looking good though. So we need to add this weather to our 3.5 only, right? We don't want our dungeon rendering snow like this. So we will yeah. Okay. So let's try to do this weather. We should have kept our original config in case we wanted, because I do like the gentle snow we did have. We'll just make a note of it in the commit so that we can reset it depending on, you know, because like once the biome is cleared it'll be gentle snow like that, but until it's cleared, it'll be this blizzard snow. So we've got to do that. So we want to add our weather system to our 3.5. So let's try to find our weather declaration right here. So we want to say 3.5 is going to be weather, and the weather is going to be blizzard. Now that alone doesn't do anything, but if we look at where we use this weather field, we are right here. We're putting it in a weather warp zone. We do need it in a warp zone. So we need to ask, basically we need to say, okay, well, if the weather is equal to a blizzard, then we want to set our particle system to be the snowSystem class that we just modified. So we're going to insert that snowSystem into the particle system, and then we also want to set the emission rate, which this gets set upon a init, so that's probably okay. But we will need to turn off our snowSystem in our scene, in our play state. So when we go to both update and render the snowSystem here in the play state, yeah, we want to say, okay, we're not updating the snowSystem anymore, but we might be updating the scene's weather system with a snowSystem instantiation if the scene we're warping to has a .weather table of a snow, of a blizzard. So in the render, we need to go to render and say snowSystem, turn off snowSystem render, and we should be able to see no snow here, and hopefully snow here. Not quite. So we don't have snow in the right 3.5 scene. So let's take a look at the other stuff we got to do. For a weather, we have a weather blizzard on a 5.3. Oh, it's a 3.5. It's a 3.5, right? Let's see. It is a 3.5. We're still not seeing it though. So we have it on a warp zone. We were never able to test this with the rain, but it's broken with the blizzard, so it's probably broken with the rain too. So let's go to our weather and we'll see where we're doing our... We should have a .snowSystem in our play state. Let's just make sure we have that. Just like we have a rain system. Yeah, we do have a .snowSystem in our play state, so that's good. But we want to go, dude, what the weather. So 3.5 we put in a blizzard. Okay. And then we're saying here, this is for a weather warp zone, specific warp zone to trigger. Yeah, this doesn't work. We might have to set the emission rate. I don't know. So let's say if we're doing a warp zone, as we're doing that stuff, we're going to go in and set the emission rate to be 800. Let's just see if that changes anything. We still don't have it. And it's at 3.5. So that should be it. It's just that the particle system, like if we were to get rid of our boulders real quick and test if it initialized upon a scene transition, that's one thing. But it wouldn't, because we only have it on the warp zone, which we never tested for the rain. So it just makes me think we screwed it up for that. So we can do this where we say, oh, we might have to clear this. Oh, it's in the scene. If this is in the scene. So look, we're going to say that this is Blizzard. And we're going to insert a snow system. And we're going to set the emission rate to 800. And then what we're going to do is go to our map declarations and take out the 2 boulders temporarily, which is, oh my god. Yeah, let's take out these 2 boulders. And let's see. I don't think the snow system will work on the warp, but I think it will on the scene change. So we don't see it here, but if I go off screen and come back, it does. Okay, so yeah, we're just not doing it upon a warp zone transition, only on a scene transition. And this should get reset to an emission rate of 0, which it is not. Because like the one doesn't have a snow. So that's telling me we did something wrong. Oh my god, where is the freaking... Okay. We basically say if there is a dot weather in the thing, if there's no particle system, no, if there is a particle system in here, what the heck? Yeah, if there is a weather, okay. Weather is different than particle system. I couldn't tell you the difference. Particle system is the active particle system in the scene. Weather is like the stored type of particle system that needs to be put into the scene. But we are doing it just like we do every other particle system. So I don't see why it wouldn't clean out when we reset it. Like I'm tempted to put this off and see what happens. Like we don't see it here, but coming back we see it, and then it doesn't go away, which is wrong. Because ideally this emission rate would get set right here, because this else would get triggered, which means that we have no... Yeah, see, how would that work? This is saying there is a weather thing in their scene. So if there's not a weather thing in our scene, which there isn't on the scene to the right of our ice mountain, this else would get triggered, and then it says like, okay, well, if there is a particle system in there, let's just go particle system in our scene, not in our global scene. Then we're going to set the emission rate on that particle system to be 0, but that's not working. See, we do this on a finish shifting. Set emission rate to 0. If the weather field is equal to 0. I feel like that's a decent way to do it too, but we had it turned off. I don't know if it was broken or what. Shit. It doesn't make sense to me why only Blizzard's broken. we actually set the emission rate to a hard-coded value, which I think could be why it doesn't get flushed on here. If we were to put this, because like if we take a look at our rain system, our emission rate, oh, we do set emission rate to a local emission rate in our rain system. Okay, well, what about our sand system? We set the initial emission rate. See, I feel like we'd want to do something like this. Let me test if our rain is getting turned off when we leave the scene. I think it was. So we have rain here, and then no rain. Yeah. Rain, no rain. Okay, so doing the rain system option works, but the snow doesn't. We update the particle systems. Oh my gosh, dude. Well, where's our snow? Do we update our particle system? Yeah, we do. Okay. So why is it different? The only thing that's different is the warp zone, but then the scene transition remains the same, so I don't see why. Oh, we might have to do an init of the particle system of the emission rate. That might be it. Because if we look at our rain system init has the emission rate right here to the local emission rate. That's like the only difference we have. So we'll set the emission rate there maybe. Nope. I don't see what the difference would be. Because this line of code right here would or should turn it off, because it says, you know, we don't have a way to remove particle system. Oh, we do it here. Yeah. Anytime we scene transition into a scene with a particle system or with a weather string, then we're cleansing the particle system, we're flushing the particle system that's in our scene, then we're initializing, we're inserting only that particle system into the scene's particle system, and then we're setting its emission rate, and then if we're scene transitioning into a scene that doesn't have, actually, what is this? If self particle system index 1, if we have a particle system in our thing and this else is catching if no weather, if there's no weather in the current scene, we're saying, well, if there's a particle system, we're going to set its emission rate to 0. And we don't flush that particle system until we run into another screen with a weather particle system, but we just set the emission rate to 0, which isn't great, but we tried to do it upon finish shifting and that didn't work, so here we are. So I still don't get why it's just not updating. We put it in the right scene. I mean, we see the snow, so that's working. It's just that something to do with the warp zone. I wonder if we turn off the warp zone one, if it fixes it. we have a weather for the warp zone. Yeah, let's try to do this. Let's just not do anything here in the warp zone weather and see if it fixes it for the scene transition. So it's not there. And now it is. And then it's busted. What the fuck, dude? So that doesn't fix it. But it broke it for some reason on the first try. Let's see if because the rain particle system should initialize at the end of a warp, right? So like we should see rain as soon as we come out here, but we don't. Because there's rain here and there's rain here. So it should be there when we pop out, but it is not. So this whole thing is busted right now. But what I don't get is that the snow system is busted too on the scene transition. Yeah, because we do this just like everything else. Yeah, see light sand, we don't set an emission rate. We just insert the sand system into the particle system. Yeah, and we should only have one weather in the state here. Three, 5. We do have a 5-3, but not a 3-5. So something with the warp zones is like screwing it up, but the scene transition one should work. So I really don't know why that's not working. Yeah, the emission rate should get set to 0 there because there's no weather in this table at 3.6. Particle systems active. What? Okay, part of me wants to see if we can get to it from walking around. I don't think we can actually. I think we blocked our way. Because I kind of want to see if we can walk around. I don't think we can. Let's just spawn us in 3.6 and go over there. Okay. See, that works. It triggers on, but it doesn't trigger off. What the fuck, dude? Okay, well, I cannot figure this out right now. We will, hopefully I'll get this fixed today or tomorrow so that we can continue to get the demo done, because this is like a bonus thing, you know? This isn't supposed to be this difficult. It's just like nice to have a place where we can show the snow system since we made it. So I will commit and call it snowSystem rehaul for Ice Mountain, but scene transitions and warp aren't triggering. You know, scene maybe just emission rate busted. Okay. All right. Yep, we'll call it a night there. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll run credits here and we'll find someone to raid. Probably Salto. Probably Salto as the bats come out to kill me. I'll be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll get this emission rate problem solved for... Is Salto on? Yes. We'll raid out to Salto. He did the art for the Steam release that we're going to be doing, so we'll give him a raid, and I hope you all have a great night. Thanks for watching.